Paul says in 2 Thessalonians chapter 2 and verse 3, he said, that day, that's the day of Christ, will not come except there come a falling away first. Falling away. In order to fall away, you have to have been somewhere to fall away. A falling away of people who sat in church but never embraced the work of God. Never really didn't want to go to hell, but didn't want to live for heaven either. Didn't really wanted the cross for redemption, but did not want the cross for a lifestyle. Didn't want to really go any deeper than just a superficial reading, sing a few songs, feel good in church. And that was, in a sense, the extent of it. But folks, that won't keep you in a storm. When things got tough in these last days, according to this, they fell away to another reasoning. It's important to understand what it is they fell away to. Joel, the prophet, in chapter 3, verse 14, he clearly speaks of multitudes in the valley of decision, or actually the word for decision is threshing. As the time leading to the Lord's final judgment on this world draws to a close. Joel speaking of God leading armies, as it is, around the world into this valley where there's going to be a reckoning with the holy God. And multitudes are in a place of deciding something. And maybe that's you this morning. Maybe you are one of the multitude. The world is being gathered to a point. It's being gathered divinely by God. Nothing is happening that the Lord has not foretold us of. Everything is unfolding exactly as He planned it from before the foundation of the world. It's all been about a bride, a church, His Son, and eternity with Him. And the world is going to be folded away. And leaders and kings are all in the hand of God. There's nobody can form a plan that is outside of the will of God. And when you and I finally understand that, we're being brought to this, I think the culmination of the world as we know it is very, very close. And there are multitudes in a place of decision now. How deep am I going to go with God? How far am I going to go? How much am I going to let Him rule my life? How willing am I to let His value system become mine? His plan for my feet become the plan of my life, as opposed to my own plan, which really does make me the God of my own life, doesn't it? If you're bringing in here some plan today and you're asking God to bless it, aren't you God in your own? Haven't you fallen into the trap of Satan himself? As I read the scriptures, I'm not called to bring my plan to God. I'm called to come to Him and get His plan for me. And He promises me power to walk in that plan. He promises me life. He promises me that I will bear fruit for His kingdom. He promises me supernatural empowerment and change. He promises that I'll have a joy in the midst of sorrow. I'll be able to, there'll be a firmness in my mind and in my heart no matter what happens. Like the psalmist David, he said, even if the seas roar and the mountains fall into the midst of the sea, I'll not be afraid because God is with me. God is the God of my strength. It's not about now, it's about forever. And now, forever is just beginning for me today. Luke 21:26, Jesus says, men's hearts will fail them for fear and for looking after the things which are coming on the earth. Things that, you notice how suddenly everything just started to spiral out of control? Just a few years ago, there were more millionaires than ever in the history of America. And now all of a sudden we're seeing riots in France, and we're seeing instability in Greece, and Japan is on the brink of collapse again. And there's talk everywhere that the almighty American dollar is losing its strength and its value. And there's a concern which you should rightly have in your heart. If your value system is in these things, you really should be concerned. And just like Esau did, many who still have access to the promises of God are going to have to make a choice. Now Esau was one of the sons let me not just go into all the history, but he had access to the promise that God gave to Abraham. The promise of life, the promise of supernatural empowerment, the promise that he would be a blessing in the earth and it was going to flow through him. Just like you have that promise, I have that promise. But he had a choice to make. And one day he walked in and he was hungry, and he saw he had a choice between what is promised tomorrow and will be eternal, or what is here today and won't last for long.